So hello and welcome to part 3 of the ongoing AS and A-Level Java series. And in this particular episode, we are going to be looking at comments in Java. So before we get started, you'll notice that I already have code inside of my comments.java file. And what I did is that I just simply copied the entire source code from the previous episode, that is the output episode, and I just pasted it inside of the Java, the comments.java file that I have here. But if you are going to do that, you might want to make sure that if you copy everything from here and you come and paste it here, make sure that you also change the class name to comments so that it matches the file name. Otherwise, if you don't do that, you're going to have an error and your code is not going to compile. But other than that, this is just the same code that we used in the previous tutorial. Alright, so what are comments? So comments are basically non-executing statements that you add to a program for the purposes of documentation. And by documentation, basically we are saying that they are just a way to make sure that you explain certain segments of code. That is to explain the reasoning behind the way you are writing that particular piece of code. So that's the whole essence of comments. So there are three types of comments in Java. There are single line comments and there are multi-line comments. So on line number 5 there, I've already created a space for myself so that I can type. So this is an example of a single line comment. That is right there on line number 5. So maybe suppose that I wanted to explain what the code on line 7 would be doing, right? I would add a comment on line number 6, and I would just say output the words, the words hello world onto the console. Right, and that would be a comment. Basically, it's going to explain what an upcoming line, rather an upcoming statement, seeks to achieve. And you notice that comments in this particular IDE that I'm using, they are highlighted in that shade of green. Is it? So this is to show that they are non-executing statements, and they are going to be ignored by the compiler. Is it? The compiler is not going to consider these as Java statements. So when the compilation process begins, it's just going to skip these comments. So why should we comment our code? Basically, comments, remember I said that they are for documentation purposes, and you're going to document code for yourself, right? When you write a certain piece of code, you're going to need to maintain it maybe 6 months down the line. And when you come back to it, you might actually have forgotten what was the whole reasoning behind the way you wrote that particular piece of code. That's reason number 1. Then the second reason is that your code might actually no longer be your responsibility 6 months down the line. Maybe you have moved on to another company and they've brought in new developers who are supposed to still work with the same code base that you left 6 months ago. And it's going to be easier for other programmers to pick up from where you left off if your code is commented out. So that's a way of documenting code. And also comments are going to be helpful if you are going to use code that you is going to contribute to open source projects. Like for instance, if you are going to be developing a framework or maybe your own programming language, is it? Like the creators of Java, you realize that you want to write your code in a way that you comment it out so that you explain to the other programmers who make use of your code how that particular code works. So now this brings us to the second type of comment, which is called a multi-line comment. So let me just come to line number 8 there and give myself space to work with. So the second type of comment that we can use in Java is a multi-line comment. So this is a multi-line comment. So notice that with the multi-line comment, I can type pretty much whatever I want, right? I will type on and on and on and press enter. And basically, this allows me to span several lines of code without having to worry about these statements being considered for compilation by the compiler. Is it? So the compiler is just going to ignore anything that is in between the /*, then asterisk and / again. So this section right here, I want you to take notice of this section. This is not really part of the Java convention for a multi-line comments. This is not just my IDE because I have a Java extension installed. So it's just helping me out by making sure that my text is well aligned so that it looks pretty. I'm using an extension called Prettier, so that's why it's giving me these extra asterisks or these extra stars. But in actual fact, you don't really need these, because you can create a multi-line comment like so. You just need a /. Okay, if I can just get rid of that. So 2 /, then you have the star or the asterisk, and this is a multi-line comment. So basically all you need really to have a multi-line comment is to have this / and star, and this star and /. Then you can span several lines you want, and it's still going to be a valid comment. I can actually go ahead and delete these, and you can see that even if I were to type something in between here, you see right here, I've removed these leading asterisks. So you can see that even if I type things here, I'm still getting my text in in green to show that it is still a comment. So that's the second type of comment, right? The multi-line comment. So it makes use of a /, star, then /. Then everything else that comes in between, it can span several lines, and that's going to hold as a multi-line comment in Java. Then the third and final type of comment, this one, of course, I'm just showing it to you guys, but really you don't need it for the purposes of this course, because it's beyond the scope of this course. But it's called a Java doc, and basically this the syntax for a Java doc comment is something like this. So you have /, then 2 stars, then you have your documentation, or you have your explanation in between, then you close it by having another star and /. Basically that's a Java doc comment. So this is the syntax for a Java doc comment, but really it's beyond the scope of AS and A-level Java. You don't really need it until maybe later on when you start to program much more complicated or much more complex programs. But for the purposes of console applications, multi-line comments and single-line comments are everything that you really need to comment out your code. So that's just about it for this episode. I think I hope you learned something, and I'll see you in the next one.